So, in just one sentence, I think Galatians 4, verse 19, captures the heart and the vision of a Christian leader. It's here that Paul writes, "Oh, my dear children, I feel as if I'm going through labor pains for you again, and they will continue until Christ is fully developed in your lives." See, the heart and the vision of a godly leader is to promote, support, and facilitate genuine transformation in the lives of those they are leading. Now, as we work with our apprentices, our goal is not just to impart good leadership skills to them, but also to help them grow to reflect the life and the character of Jesus in their lives and leadership. With this in view, developing an apprentice is a relational journey, not a checklist. It is grounded in a trusting and honest relationship. And this kind of relationship, it just takes time. We simply cannot build a deep, healthy relationship with someone without spending time together, which is why regular one-on-one time with your apprentice is so important. Now, we need to be realistic about this, time-wise, but try to shoot for a minimum of meeting twice a month with your apprentice, even if it means meeting for a little while before your life group meeting. Now, as you meet with your apprentice, bear in mind that what you model for them through your time, your care, the questions you ask, is going to be a huge part of what they will carry on when they recruit and develop their own apprentice. Your leadership is being caught as much as it is taught. So how do we go about having one-on-one conversations that can actually encourage and support our apprentice in their growth to reflect the life and character of Christ? Well, stick with me for a moment. In Luke 2:52, the Bible says that Jesus grew in 4 specific areas throughout his ministry. It says, and Jesus increased in wisdom, or mentally, and in stature, physically, and in favor with God, spiritually, and man, relationally. Using this text as a kind of model, one of the ways we can gauge growth and provide personal care for our apprentice is through checking in on their RPMs, an acrostic for relational, physical, mental, and spiritual health. You see, in the same way that an auto mechanic might check the RPMs, or revolutions per minute, on a car engine to see how well it's running, we can check the RPMs on ourselves and our apprentices to see if everything's in balance. Now, let me be clear. Having an RPMs conversation with an apprentice is countercultural to our individualistic way of life. This conversation cannot be just a task to be checked off, but a life-giving dialogue intended to take place in the context of a real, caring relationship. So let me just provide a flyover of what an RPMs conversation might include. Let's start with the R, relational. Relational development is the core of apprenticing. It is out of relationship that everything else grows. And so as we invest relationally with our apprentices, we are given an entry point into their lives. And that is what we as leaders need to be most concerned with, the apprentice's life. So here are the kinds of questions about relationships that we can ask to stimulate conversation. We can ask our apprentice, how are things at home right now? What about family life is going well? If you could change anything in your family, what would you like to change? Who would you consider to be your closest friend? What is the most challenging relationship you have in your life? Now, the P stands for physical. This is not something we often think of, but what comes to your mind when you think of someone's physical well-being? Maybe it's diet and exercise, sickness or prevention. Maybe it's schedule and rest. But you see, if we're serious about helping to holistically develop our apprentices, we have to help them see that their physical well-being can affect their ability to lead spiritually with enthusiasm and passion. Now, some good questions to generate discussion might be like, well, how's your work schedule these days? Where's your energy level on a scale of 1 to 10? What about your physical health or physical practices would you like to change? Now, the M here is for mental. We want to do what we can to encourage and support the mental and intellectual development of our rising leaders. Now, some people are just naturally self-learners and are motivated to continue developing and learning. Others need encouragement and even accountability to take the initiative in this area. And so regularly ask your apprentice about what God may be teaching them and encourage them to respond to those learnings in their life and ministry. Ask them questions like, oh, what have you been learning from the Bible lately? What books are you reading, or what podcasts are you listening to that are helping to sharpen your skills and stretch your faith? What thoughts have been dominating your mind recently? And then last, but certainly not least, the S is for spiritual. Spiritual vitality is crucial to your apprentice's life and their effectiveness in ministry. When leaders' hearts are closely connected to Christ, they'll be attuned to his leading, and ministry will flow from their lives. It is way too easy for us to get this turned around. We fill our lives with the tasks of ministry and find little time to connect with God. As a leader, we want to do what we can to help our apprentice figure out what they need to do to find and maintain closeness with God. Now, it will look a little different for every person, but will certainly involve practices, experiences, and relationships that deepen the life of Christ in them. So some good questions about spiritual health might be something like this. In a word or two, how would you describe your relationship with God right now? What spiritual practices are an ongoing part of your life that are encouraging your faith? How has God been speaking to you lately? And what has he been saying to you? Now, please understand there is nothing magical about this RPM's acrostic, but it does provide us with a helpful framework so that we can be thinking through the kinds of things we want to be talking about with our apprentice as we encourage them to reflect Christ to others in the group and in their lives.